You know, I've been wanting to check out some local produce close to me, and I've discovered this really good asparagus farm. So for today, I'm going to jump in my car and I'm going to check out more about this top quality produce and see how this sought after vegetable is grown.
My family have been farming in Norfolk for 250 years, I'm told. I've been farming asparagus here for 35 of those. I started the business in '87 from scratch. Asparagus is one of the crops we grow. It's wheat, it's a cereal farm, so wheat, barley and oilseed rape. But asparagus now has become a very significant part of our rotation. We're growing 200 acres, so we're actually producing or selling around 250 to 300 tonnes of asparagus during the UK season. And I think with any vegetable, certainly with asparagus, it wants to be picked and eaten ideally the same day or certainly within a few days. Products which have been shipped all over the world actually lose their flavour. Because we're growing asparagus here in the UK in a climate which is really not perfect for asparagus production. We do not produce the yields that can be produced all around the world in perfect climates. But because of that, our asparagus grows relatively slowly and we have a more intense flavour. And I think that is the point of difference with the UK asparagus, apart from the flavour and obviously less air miles, etc. Why should people eat locally? Because it's fresher. If we're eating asparagus which is imported from Peru, it's going to be 10 days old. It's at the end of its shelf life. We produce something, if we can get the field heat out of that veg as quick as possible, we've got huge length of shelf life on it. Therefore, you're getting less wastage. You're not getting halfway through your pack of asparagus and it's going rotten. So we're making full use of it. There's so much food wastage in this country, in this world at the moment, and I think we are soon reaching a time where we're not going to produce enough food. If we just cut out the food wastage, we're going a long way to being self-sufficient, if you like. I've put a lot of effort into it. I've been all over the world. I've looked at how it's grown. I've met some amazing, very interesting, very clever people, far cleverer than me, who've been able to advise me and help me. And I suppose it's gathering knowledge, gathering people together, giving people an understanding of a crop and how it grows, which I think is probably something that makes you more passionate about it. Obviously I'm doing it to earn a living, don't get me wrong, but it's a nice way of earning a living when you can be passionate about it. It makes it easier, especially to put up with the hours and things we've put in to achieve what we're doing. Yeah. I think everybody should eat asparagus every day, obviously, but no, I like it just cooked simply. Either just baked on a baking tray with a bit of olive oil, salt, sprinkle a little parmesan on it, or just steamed or boiled and served with a bit of melted butter on, with Sauvignon Blanc as well, that helps. This is asparagus, for those who haven't seen it before. It takes 3 years to get a spear of asparagus to look like this. So I buy seed, I raise it, I produce a crown, which is the root, which is underground here. And at 1 year old, we'll put that into a channel underground, cover it up. We'll allow it to grow for 2 more years. So each year it produces 2 or 3 ferns. That fern will grow up. It will photosynthesize, feed the root, putting the sugars down into the root, which is stored in the form of starch, which then is the energy that produces the spears in the following season. What we do is we have a knife, we leave a mark, we put a mark on the knife. Once the spear has reached that height minimum, we then harvest it, and it's as simple as this. That's the harvested spear. What we must do, and it's very important, because there's a number of spears coming up or buds coming up under the ground, when we're cutting, we've got to be very careful we don't cut the next spear. Here's tomorrow's spear. Here's the day after. Underneath the ground here, there's all the spears coming up and through, peeking through here. Now when it's hot, when it's 10 degrees at night, 20, 25 during the day, we don't get many of them in the UK, but this asparagus will actually grow 4 inches in 24 hours. So we need to keep picking every single day we pick. As this spear continues to grow up, and if we allow that to continue growing up, the bracts at the bottom will open, and that is the beginning of the fern stage. So we're trying to get it before that. As that starts to open, it becomes what we call class 2. It still eats perfectly well. There's nothing wrong with how it eats, but it's becoming more mature. The bottom end might become slightly more woody, so we're always trying to cut it in those parameters so that when we take it back to the pack house, we cut the bottom off so we've got an all green spear that you can eat the whole product. What we're trying to do when we get it in the pack house is to get the field heat out of it, get the temperature out of it, which today it's 18 degrees. We're trying to get it down to 2-3 degrees as quickly as we can so it extends the shelf life. So the washing side obviously cleans it, and then the hydrocooling side is then bringing the temperature down to around 2-3 degrees, so we store it at that time. We're using high volume water to wash it so that we're making sure that we get all the sand and the grit out of the head, so when people eat it they don't get the sensation of grit in the mouth, which is, so we've invested a lot of money in the washing equipment to make sure that it's clean and there's no grit in the heads. Then it's hydro-cooled, the big tank of cold water you've seen. We then put it in the main fridge at the bottom, which has high humidity. It runs at about 98% humidity using a fogging system.
Okay.
Because of the principle of a fridge dries the product out. So what we're doing is adding air, moisture into it. We then put it onto the grader, which as you've seen, we lay it onto a belt. On the grading line, we've laid it onto the first belt, which then lines it up and gets it all at the same length. And then after that, each blue cup you can see here, there's a spear in each one, and we're actually taking a photograph of each one, and we're ascertaining the thickness of the spear, the length of the spear, whether it's got white on it, whether it's got a straight cut or a slanted cut end on it, the head closure on it, the curvature on it in 3 different positions. And we then grade it 64 different ways, and it's exactly to the nearest millimetre. So we're taking photographs of every single spear, believe it or not. And it will do that at 10 spears a second. And by grading it by thickness, we're doing so to make sure that when you cook it, it cooks evenly. Otherwise, if you cook a fat spear with a thin spear, you're going to overcook one and undercook the other.